Which team do you think will win the World Series this year? I can give you my prediction, but ultimately it's going to depend a lot on each contending team's most important player. Now, I didn't say each team's best player because down the stretch, the best player isn't necessarily the most important player. Let's take the Yankees, for example. There's no argument when it comes to Aaron Judge being the best player on the team, but I honestly think the most important player down the stretch can be Giancarlo Stanton, because Judge is going to ball out when he's pitched to. But if there's no production or protection being provided by Big G, the opportunities for Judge to do serious damage with runners on base takes a hit dramatically. We've already seen what that has ultimately done to this offense as a whole for the last month and a half. So in this #Examine It series, I'm going to break down who I think each contending team's most important player is going to be down the stretch. If you're new to my content, I'm X, a former MLB player turned analyst and broadcaster for the culture. Make sure you follow me and subscribe to the YouTube so you don't miss any of the content. All right, let's get to the list. If the Dodgers want to win the World Series, it's going to come down to Max Muncy's performance down the stretch. He will be the most important player. Yes, I know the Dodgers have the best overall record without Max Muncy having the best production over the past year, but they need him to perform to lengthen out this lineup to its potential. This lineup has to be clicking on all cylinders to put up runs against the better pitchers in the playoffs. Plus, when Muncy is playing every day and contributing at a high level, his versatility can be a true luxury. The good thing is Muncy started to turn it on the month of August, thanks to the fact that he finally figured out how to hit an off-speed pitch again. He hit 5 homers versus soft stuff last month. That tied for the most in the majors. You know Freddie Free, Mookie Betts, and Trey Turner are going to show up every day. But if Muncy gets back to being a dog, now you're talking about a World Series lineup. What do you guys think? The Astros aren't winning the World Series without a healthy Justin Verlander. That makes him the most important player for them down the stretch. Now, Verlander has been in the Cy Young conversation all year, and he's pitched like a cheat code this season at the age of 39. And don't forget he's coming off of Tommy John surgery from last year. He's been one of the biggest reasons why the Astros are the best team in the AL. The only problem is that he went on the IL not too long ago due to a calf injury. Prior to the injury, he'd thrown 152 innings with a 1.84 ERA, 26.5% strikeout rate, and a 4.5 walk rate. The Astros can afford to allow Verlander to return at whatever pace is best for his health. But this team is not looking just to return to the World Series. They're looking to bring home the trophy this year. And without a healthy Verlander, that ain't happening. Do you agree, or do you got somebody else? For the Padres, their most important player is their best player, and he's got to start playing like it. Yeah, I said it. Juan Soto gotta be better. Yes, I understand the weighted runs created plus is still up there around 50% better than league average. And I'm not saying he's been bad, but since he was traded over from the Nationals, the slugging percentage is down, the OPS is down, and he's not driving the ball like we're so accustomed to seeing him do. It's almost like a lot of the times the offense is sitting back and waiting for him to do his thing or do something big. He might have to. Now, Soto's always going to get on base at a high percentage clip, and he's arguably got the best plate discipline in the show, and he will take his walks. But the Padres need that Soto who laughed at that $440 million the Nats offered him. That same Juan Soto that we saw hitting shots at Chavez Ravine to win the Derby. I think that will take some of the pressure off of guys like Josh Bell, Jake Cronenworth, and Jurickson Profar. We know Machado's been playing at an elite level, so they don't have to worry about him. I just think Soto's got to turn it up a notch. What do you think? Cardinals have 2 MVP candidates on their team, but neither one of them is going to be the most important player for this team down the stretch. Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado have been unreal this season, but the most important player is going to be Jack Flaherty. I hate to put a lot on one specific player, especially since he's just returning after being out since June 26. Remember, he's had 2 lengthy IL stints while battling a right shoulder injury, but he's back, and the velocity and sharpness looks good. Teams that make deep postseason runs have depth in the starting pitching, and if Jay Flair is able to get back to his pre-COVID-19 dominance, then you're talking about taking a swing and miss ace into the postseason along with Waino, Miles Michaelis, and Montgomery doing their thing. All signs looking really good for the Cardinals, who have a great lead in the Central Division. Do you think they have a chance to win it, though? The Atlanta Braves were the toughest team for me to determine who their most important player is. But I figured it out. No, it's not Austin Riley, not Ronald Acuna Jr. It's a rookie. And ever since this rookie stepped foot on a major league field, he's looked like a seasoned vet. Michael Harris II is the most important player for multiple reasons. First and foremost, this team expected Ronald Acuna Jr. to come back and provide real offensive production. We aren't seeing the same Ronald Acuna that we've seen in the past, but Harris II has made up for that. Secondly, two-way center fielders are at a legitimate premium in our league nowadays, and the fact that this dude is just as impressive on both sides of the ball is invaluable for the Braves. Thirdly, even though Harris should probably be batting first or second, they have him usually in the sixth spot in the lineup, which bodes well because he's in a great position to drive in runs, and he lengthens out that lineup for a homer-happy Braves squad. He also gives them speed in the lower half of the order. No wonder why they already locked him up after only being in the show for a couple months. Who's your most important player for the Braves down the stretch? I thought about naming Wander Franco the most important player for the Tampa Bay Rays, but he keeps having setbacks and this team has played extremely good baseball without him at times. But there's no doubt in my mind Shane McClanahan is the most important player on this team right now. Dude has been flat out unhittable and has kept his name in that Cy Young conversation all year. With that being said, the Rays need him healthy, especially after he hit that IL stint due to some shoulder impingement. His ERA plus sits at about 164, 64% better than league average, and he's one of the biggest reasons why the Rays find themselves in an opportunity to be in the postseason. He can put you away with any of his 4 pitches and has pinpoint accuracy with the whole arsenal. The return of the Mac is going to determine how far this team ultimately goes. What do you think? Is the Phillies' most important player Bryce Harper? Of course it is. And he's basically going to have to do a lot of what he did around this time last year. The reigning National League MVP put the team on his back and tried his best to will the Phillies to a playoff berth. It just didn't happen. But this year, the opportunity is theirs to lose. This team is lucky to have Bryce Harper back, as he was out for 2 months after he suffered a fractured thumb when he was hit by a Blake Snell fastball back in June. With Castellanos not being the player that the Phillies expected him to be this year and now being out due to injury, it puts a little bit more on Harper to be that much more productive from a power standpoint. The good thing is he's done it before, and I think he will do it again. Bryce Harper helps carry this team into the postseason. What do you think? The Blue Jays' best player, no doubt, is Vladdy, but the most important player down the stretch for them is going to be Alejandro Kirk. And I think it's Kirk because he dramatically affects the game on both sides of the ball. After struggling for most of the second half offensively, the all-star catcher is hitting again. When Kirk is going well, he takes so much pressure off of guys like Vladdy and Bo Bichette. And we've seen what Bo Bichette's been doing lately. And the whole team seems to play well when Kirk is doing his thing. When Kirk is going well, he tops the league at not swinging and missing, not striking out, and spraying the ball all over the field. Do you guys think Kirk helps this Blue Jays team lock up a playoff spot though? I couldn't narrow down the Mets' most important player to just one guy. It's because really, it's the two-headed monster of DeGrom and Scherzer. They are equally as important, and honestly, without either one of those dudes, the Mets don't make a postseason run. The Mets need both of them at full strength. Offenses don't want to face either one of these guys, but more importantly, the relievers can breathe, knowing that they aren't going to be worn out on the days those two start. Also, the offense doesn't feel pressure to put up a whole bunch of runs. 2 or 3 runs can win the game when DeGrom or Scherzer starts. If they have both of them healthy and dealing, this team will be too tough to beat down the stretch. The Mariners have been one of the hottest teams in baseball, and the Orioles have been one of the best stories all year. Both of these teams could make the playoffs, with the M's having a much better chance right now than the O's. Adley Rutschman has been and will continue to be one of the most important players on the O's. As he continues to take his game to the next level as a major leaguer, if he can be one of the biggest power threats in the middle of the order, pitchers are going to fear what he can do with the stick and make more mistakes to him, as well as make mistakes to the guys around him. For the M's, the J-Rod show has to just keep doing what he's been doing all season. The defense is great, the power-speed combination on the offensive side is unreal, and the pressure he puts on opposing defenses with his legs on the base pass is ridiculous. Which of these rookies wins the Rookie of the Year at the end of the season?